What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. Blue Collar Champions podcast. This is James. This is episode number 7. And today we're going to be finishing up on chapter 2, Faith, from Think and Grow Rich. And a couple discussion topics. Really kind of pumped about this one. This one's really taking a pretty deep dive into the type of the gurus of the financial world and their key core principles, what their systems are built on, and then how you can integrate that together. Obviously, I think, when people become specialists and develop a system or a plan, then they are in that's theirs, and there's no deviating from it. So for me personally, I think taking the best principles from everything, it's like anything else in life, if it's wrestling, jits, some sort of grappling, fighting, whatever it is, school, take the best parts, and then add those together and create like your total game out of it. So real quick, anyway, you might be wondering today, okay, where the hell is he recording from now? Well, I'm recording from what is going to be the studio. This was a building I built 14 by 16, 6-7 years ago. Don't really use it too much. It's on the backside of my property, so let's just dive right into discussion topics. So today we're going to be talking about actually having our financial shit together and what that means. And then how many people out there, how many of you are trying to beat the clock? And by beat the clock, I mean, there'll be time. Now I'll start that next year. Well, guess what? Every single year that you're doing that, you're losing yourself a fortune. There is no better time than right now to get started. And that time never comes. Next year it'll be something else. Next year it'll be, we have to do this to the kitchen. We have to paint, put new carpet, whatever it is. It's always got to be something. So you have to get in the mindset of just doing it for yourself, getting started, and getting disciplined with it. Investing, retirement, all that, because it's going to be here before you know it. And before we go into the different, what I'll call gurus, because they are, man, they're masters of their craft, and I have the utmost respect for them. I want to talk a little bit about being open to opportunities and how things can unfold. So obviously, you see this is pretty grassroots, all right? This is about as grassroots as it gets. Recording from a GoPro Hero 10. I mean, there's no fancy studio. There's no nothing, because I wanted to start this and I wanted to be able to show progress as it takes place. I feel like so many things get started or launched and, the progress is never shown. How did you get there? What were the steps that you took to get there? How did something grow from nothing? Even more importantly, how did you grow something from nothing, from an idea and something that you just thought about? So that's what I'm trying to do. That's the whole premise of this. So obviously, I just filed for my third LLC this year to open that business, and that'll be the start of a nonprofit supplement company. And I won't go into too much detail, I'm not finished yet. But when I talk about being open and being receptive, it means that when you put that goal in your mind, when you have that finished idea, this is where I'll be. I need a recording studio. I will have a recording studio. I'll build a recording studio. Where am I going to do that? Kind of running out of real estate in the house. Now the kids are growing up, getting older, getting more toys, better toys, big boy toys. And then it just seems like we just accumulate more and more stuff. So I really had to get receptive and really had to start looking. And lo and behold, without going into too much detail, company I work for currently bought a new office building. So that's getting client finishes done right now. There's a contractor in there pulling cabinets, floor tiles, all kinds of stuff out of there. Well, our CFO sent an email out, said, hey, if anybody's interested, you got to get them out on this day. And it was like 2 days from then. So I talked to a buddy at work. I said, hey, man, would you be interested in going over there? Now, here's the kicker. It's on the 3rd floor. There's one elevator in and out. One elevator for the 3rd floor. And a stairwell. It's some of the countertops are super long. Had to stairwell them down and teeter-totter them over the handrails. Cabinets are beautiful. I mean, the cabinets are, commercial grade, top of the line. I bet you there's 15 grand in cabinets, in great shape, barely used. It's some of them make different style offices. So the guys over there, GSS Construction, great group of guys. Actually took them apart and broke them down into individual cabinets. So, buddy from work and I spent an hour and a half over there, man, busting it. Got all the countertops, all the office equipment. Nobody else wanted to do the work. Nobody else wanted to. And all I saw was a vision in my head. I said, you know what? That's it. That's the office. That's the studio. That's my out office. That's my place to go work. That's my place to go run these companies. And still be at home and still be actively involved with the family, because when I pulled the measurements, everything works out perfect to build the office, the studio, and it just came to me. But I was receptive. I was reaching out there looking for the answer. I was reaching out there going, you know what? This is what I need. I have the vision. Now, how do I bring this together? And it's just little incremental steps where I go, you know what? I have the building out there that I don't really use too much, because if I need to work on the house or do work around the house, I go to the garage that's where I want to keep my tools. I don't want to walk all the way out there and do that, or forget something out there. So I really never used it. So I thought, okay, well, now I need to build an office in there. I need to build a studio. And then this email come across. First thing I said was, hey, I got it. That's mine. And nobody else even stepped up to do the work. And it was just a lot of trips in and out, very awkward. We had to be very careful. But like I said, it was an hour and a half of my life. Boom, there you go. Office, studio. Now, with that being said, it's still the hard work. Obviously, nobody's going to build this for me. So there's still that work that has to get done, that has to take place. So just because I say, like the book, the title that this whole podcast, the premise of it, Think and Grow Rich, it's not Think and Grow Rich but you don't have to do any work at all. There's still work. There's always going to be work. So anyway, just wanted to share kind of a quick story about how being open, being receptive, being creative, think about that, just being creative. I didn't care what anybody thought of me. I don't care what anybody thinks of me now. Building a studio and an office where I am, I just thought, okay, this is how I take less time away from my family also, because I'm here and I'm available to be with them. But I can also have that private space in order to do the work. So anyway, we got a lot to cover today. We're going through 12 pages, 54 through 66 of the edition of Think and Grow Rich. That's compiled by Ross Cornwell. It's a good one. He kind of takes some of the old school English from 100 years ago out, and that's a little more updated, user friendly. So these are profiles of what Let me start with a disclaimer. I don't know that much about Suze Orman. I agree with a lot of her principles, but I just don't know that much about her. But I know Ramsey, I know Robert, and I know those are self-made people. They started grassroots. They started from the ground, and then I know one of them in particular lost everything and then had to start over and build a new system, change his paradigm, shift his paradigm to build a new system. So, I'm sure you've heard about some of these great wealth and retirement advisors such as Suze Orman or Dave Ramsey or Robert Kiyosaki. Suze, Dave, being for the poor in middle class retirements, but not for the wealthy. While I do think there are faster methods to grow wealth, such as multiple businesses, multiple sources of income, real estate investment, real estate as a tax shelter for corporations, you have to look at the core principles as being sound and an excellent way to start down the path of building wealth. Suze Orman's core principles, and this is why I want to take a dive into each one. Live below your means, spend less than you earn. That's kind of a no-brainer. Dial back on your wheels. Aim to drive your wheels for 10 years, not a $6, $7, or $800 a month payment, or $1,000, $1,200 truck payment. Shrink subsidies for adult children. Stop supporting adult children. I couldn't agree more. Make sure your parents are set up so you aren't an adult drain, so they aren't an adult drain on you. Attack your mortgage. I get the principle, not 100% I agree with this idea. Your money may do better for you invested in other income sources over 30 years, but I get the no debt is a better mindset. I get it. Use Roth accounts, obviously tax-free retirement benefits when you go to pull that money out or use that. Invest in LTC insurance, long-term care insurance. Not sure I agree with this, but I'll need to do some more research, more in depth before I can weigh the pros and cons. So, disclaimer: I gotta get studied on that. Okay. Hands off Social Security from 62 to 70. Your payout is 76% higher. That was the stat that was in there. I need to look at that. I know that it grows as you get older, but to be honest with you, I'm not depending on Social Insecurity. And that's a Ramsey quote. That's not mine. Draw at 70, and by your early 80s, you'll surpass the leaving money on the table ideas. Okay, again, disclaimer, I got to do a little research on that. But I'm here to tell you, if you're counting on the Social Insecurity, you got to get a different plan. Lose that one, plug in another one. Okay, get a side job, work Saturdays, whatever you got to do. But if that's what you're depending on, yeah, you're missing the boat. Buy some guaranteed income annuity or pension if available to you. So her fundamental principles to retirement are sound and will get you there. I don't agree with everything like downsizing unless you're living way outside your means. For instance, your palace costs you 40 to 50% of your income. This needs to be absolutely no more than 25%. That's your home by palace home, in case you didn't pick up on that. By palace, I meant you're spending 40 to 50% of your income. Absolutely no more than 25 of your take home. And I don't like that. I'm a much bigger proponent of like 15, maybe 20%. that you're paying on your mortgage. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, you know. Job market, job insecurity, depending on what type of field you're in, you can go from feast to famine. So it just, to me, it makes a little more sense to be a little less than you're depending on a quarter of your income. So next we'll go to Dave Ramsey's core principles. His method is the baby step method. And I agree with more of his ideas. Let me start with that. Baby step 1, save $1,000 for an emergency fund. When I was burning off debt, or paying off debt, I should say, that made me a little insecure. My income was probably a little greater than the majority of the people that work this plan. So I said, okay, I'll keep a greater percentage of emergency fund put away, and then I'll attack all that other BS debt that I had created. And sometimes you just don't know, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Was it the kids' new school clothes? Was it the tires, the transmission? It just happens. I get it. I completely get it. Baby step 2, pay off all debt beside your house using the debt snowball and a written budget. Pay off smallest and apply that to the next one, and so on. 100% agree. 100% agree. Save 3 to 6 months in a fully funded emergency fund. 100% agree. Or I will say, if you're already invested in accounts that are able to be liquid. So if you're investing in mutual funds, some type of low cost, all-encompassing index fund, something like that, but you can liquidate, in 3 to 5 days. I say just leave it there, let it grow. You're already in it. You just switch gears, man, so you can get out of debt. Invest 15% of your monthly household income into your retirement. I say 20 to 25%. I say a little bit more, but I've also heard him say these higher percentages, and I think at the end I sum it up. Save for your children's college fund. I agree to a certain extent. A lot of options for education available outside the Ivy League, but you should have nest eggs for them to help kickstart their education. I'm doing that for both my sons right now, on top of everything else that I'm doing. And when I say I agree to an extent, look, you can get the same degree and pay, $100,000 a year, or 20, or 15. You get the same degree. If you need that name, if your kid needs that name on there, that Ivy League name, and that college isn't bending over backwards to pay for that, and to give them their scholarship, then while I don't advise it at all, I do not advise it, but they can pay for that shit themselves. Okay? But by then you should have coached, your kids should be at a point where you've coached them well enough that they're getting, their academic, athletic, some sort of other funding, outside of just paying the bill. Okay? And then again, do you have to have that name on it? You got to be Division I, really? Step 6, pay off home early. Still on the fence here with this one. If you are heavily investing in company plans and additional compounding interest accounts or mutual funds, then yes, start taking chunks out of your mortgage, or start a side business to pay the house off. How about that? We'll go into that. That's a combination of everything. Step 7, build wealth and give. 100% agree. Be generous and surround yourself with generous people. I couldn't agree more. That is one of the best things about creating businesses that can help others, is the ability to be generous and just have generous ideas. And the crazy thing is that, you think you don't see it. Like, you don't see a business giving something away, or giving away their time or people donating their time until you ask or until you bring it up. You know, here recently, gym I train at, a friend of mine from work and childhood, coaches girls lacrosse. There's a foundation for a young man that I knew pretty well, who unfortunately passed away. He was injured during football practice, and unfortunately the doctors didn't catch it over the course of a couple days, couple trips to urgent care, and I think ER, and it just got progressively worse. Anyway, you know, may he rest in peace. There's a foundation set up in his name, and you know, just out of the blue, I said, hey, you know, would anyone be interested in taking some classes? Maybe I can talk to the gym I train at and see if they'd be interested in donating some time. Talk to my coach, and he's like, yeah, man. He goes, get a group together, man. 20, 15, 20 girls, man, no problem. So we got 30 that are going to come down. They're going to donate their time. The trainers, male and female trainers, donate their time, teach these young ladies some basic self-defense, for 3-4 hours on a Saturday. I'm like, how cool is that? In return, they got their name on the team's banner, so they got some free advertisement. These girls get to learn some basic self-defense, which hopefully they never have to use, but may pay off. And everybody should know. So you guys know I'm a big proponent of that. But I thought that's so awesome, like to be able to, and of course we'll be there and we'll be working to clean the mats up, make sure the girls have lunch and the trainers and water and Gatorade and all that other good stuff. Just donate some time. It's a Saturday morning, and I get to teach some young ladies, like, it's someday something like that may save their life or the life of a friend, and it's just because I thought, how could I be, now granted, there's a lot of other people, and I'm so grateful for them, so grateful, but I just thought, is there anything more I can do? And sometimes just by talking to others, man, they don't know how they can help either, but they want to, so, sorry to go into such depth, but absolutely be generous, surround yourself with generous people. Again, fundamentally strong, love all of his bullet points. Get out of debt, stay out, then allow your money to work for you. You control where your money goes, not the other way around. Robert Kiyosaki, so he describes himself as, retirement and a guy for wealthy retirement. So, yeah, his number one principle is set out to gain experience, take educated action, and learn to get better. Number two, the more you give, the more you receive. This is not just financially. This is in your efforts and work ethic. The belief that more service is rewarded with more in life. Okay, I like that. Number three, your thinking determines your success. Agree 100%. A positive mental attitude is the strongest weapon in the universe. I like that saying. Number four, focus is the key. Focus and determination. Follow the course until it happens. If you have a worthwhile goal and never quit, then you will succeed. That's the problem. And I was reading about podcasting. I was reading about investing, and I was reading about, obviously I read about all of that stuff all the time. I was reading about, grappling, submission grappling, catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, because I love it. Always have. Grew up as a wrestler, and that was my favorite sport because there was nowhere to hide. There were no lies. You got beat. You just got beat. If you listen to the majority of wrestlers, man, they get smoked on the mat. It'll be like, hey, man, he was just better today. That's it. Because there's nowhere to hide. It's going to bring it out. It's going to be honest at the end of the day what happened. And that's what I love about that sport in particular. Is that there's there's just nowhere to hide. You know, and you know if you gave up, you know if you quit, you know, so like with anything else, man, so many people like jujitsu, for instance, you know, I forget what it is, like 90% of people who start are going to quit by the time they get to their blue belt, you know, and it's like, wow, 90%, you know, all they had to do was stick around. All they had to do was stick around. It's going to sink in. It's going to sink in. But all you had to do was stick around, just keep after it. But it was too tough for them, you know. So, yeah. So that's where I'm at. 90% of things in life is just not quitting. Number 5, hard times bring new opportunities. Windows of opportunity are readily available. Like I was talking about in the story about getting the office furniture. Opportunities are there. Just look for them. Number 6, don't be afraid to lose. Every successful person has lost at something. Agree. Number 7, be financially educated. Understand if you are employee, self-employed, a businessman, or investor. Number 8, build and grow your assets. Assets make you money. Liabilities cost you money. Agree 100%. Saving money is obsolete. Save money is losing money. Invested in business, real estate, rentals, retirement accounts, stock market. Number 10, the rich don't work for money. They use their money to work for them, like an employee. Is it out there making them money? So it took me, I'm not going to lie, if you haven't noticed by now, I'm kind of dense, all right? I need to be explained things, okay? Like a lot of this stuff, I've been reading this stuff for years, you know, and it's starting to sink in. It's starting to catch on. But I never understood what you would hear the rich talk about, you know, their money is their employee. And I'm like, what does that mean? What do they mean by that? Their money is their employee means that their money is out there earning them more money. Okay? So it's their employee. Is it working well for them? So think about like where you would put an employee. You wouldn't put an employee in a dumpster fire, right? You'd put an employee in a position to be successful because you need that employee to be successful. Okay? So, does that make sense? You're going to put an employee in the newest, hottest company, the IPO's dropping, it's going to be huge, and all of a sudden, tank fest. And the thing's got 50% loss that it has to make out. Oh, if it doesn't just implode. I don't know. So, that's what it means to me. It means that money, your money, is your employee. If it sits around, it's dying. Okay, there's no growth and comfort. But then you don't have to expose it to the sharks. You know, give it the opportunity to do its work and work for you in a safer environment. Excuse me. So as you can see, there's so many extremes out there, and I understand that each person has their own approach and brand, and that's fine. For me, I like a blended approach to building retirement and wealth. I do agree with getting completely out of debt up to the mortgage. Now, this is where I differ. I say my approach, first, make sure that you're building a pension, annuity, IRA, 401k, or several. For me, I have access to a fully funded pension, annuity that's built annually, and IRAs for both myself and my spouse, wife. And I fund it annually. Number 2, create a trust for the kids, clearly defining where your money and custody goes, so there's no issue with the wealth distribution, and pay someone to manage it. And by manage it, I mean passively manage it. Like when you need to make changes, you have another kid, you contact the attorney that holds your trust, and you say, hey, I'd like to update this, I need to get this, and then make the split for the children. It's easy. It's so easy. And there are so many people I talk to that don't have their trust put together for their kids. I mean, I didn't have a trust until we had kids. You know, obviously if I die, all my shit goes to her, you know. But if something happens to both of us, what happens to those kids? It's a written plan where there's no bullshit. Your kids are taken care of for the rest of their life. Where does your life insurance go? We'll get to that. But think about that, man. You know, those kids don't have a plan for that. You have to have a plan. Anyway, sorry, I'm big on that. There's a lot of people I talk to that have children that don't have a trust or term life insurance. You know, so yeah, when I talk about your mortgage being, 15%, something lower than even 25, and people are living at 40 and 50%, I want to be down at 15 because I need my biggest wealth building asset, which is my income. I need that to be doing other things and protecting my family in other ways. Yeah, it's cool to live in that monster, beautiful home where you can show off to the Joneses that you got the swag. That's cool. But man, when you peel back that first page and there's no foundation for you, for the kids, man, I'm sorry. I don't agree. I can't live that way. Have tons of term life insurance, enough to pay off debts and fund your spouse with 4% withdrawals annually if you pass away, or if needed for bigger purchases. Talk to your financial advisor about where to transfer the money to in the event your spouse passes. And what that means is, like, obviously you get a cash payout from life insurance policy. Where do you need to put that into an interest-bearing or investment account? And then the 4% is the I don't know if I'll call it old school, but it's the approach of pulling 4% max out of your nest egg as retirement. So think about $1 million, you're pulling 4% out every year. It's $40,000. So you're pulling that out as something to live on or supplement your other incomes or other pensions or annuities, or if social insecurity is there, that then you're pulling that out. So think about it. If it's $4 or $5 million, now you're talking about some pretty significant income, and the 4% is the golden rule, I'll call it, for you're not sucking the life out of that account. Yeah, that you're not sucking the life out of that account. Sorry, my dogs are outside being insane. So, yeah, you can live off of that account, and then you can use it to fund a great retirement, to have plenty of everything, and then you get to pass that on. You get to pass that on to your kids. So, additionally, get out and stay out of BS debt, credit card, and other BS loans, etc. Once out of debt and fully funding your 401k, IRAs, invest an additional 15 to 25% of your income into mid and low risk mutual funds or ETFs or total index funds such as Vanguard, Berkshire Hathaway, low cost funds that won't rob your gains. Okay, so these are like total market, I think it's VIT, Vanguard, yeah, total. But they have like a really, really, really low cost associated with them. And don't quote me on it, it's either 0.25% or 0.05%, and I'll look that up. I can't remember, I don't know, I'm invested in them and I don't remember off the top of my head what their cost associated, but it's one of the lowest costs, like the Vanguard groups or Berkshire Hathaway. And what that means is that you're not paying 3-4% costs associated with your account, because you think about that 3-4%, that's robbing your annual growth of 8, 9, 10. Well, not this year, but 8, 9, 10%. So, yeah, so low cost. Next, create multiple sources of income passive income, actively managed. I know that may sound conflicting, but bear with me. Businesses, personally, I think you need at least 3 sources of steady state income that are active businesses that require you managing, but not static placement. Not storefront business that requires you standing there. You're selling your time that way. But that can be operated from anywhere until they're grown and need actively managed, or hire the employees that can operate your brick and mortar store. A completely passive portfolio. That's my oldest out there. Yeah, he's 5.5. Completely passive portfolio that builds annually creates a steady income stream that can fund growth each year and requires little to no management. This can be in the form of real estate, rental property. Now protect your assets and allow experts to tax shelter it and grow it. Here's where, I love entrepreneurs. But you got to let experts handle your money. Daddy has the keys. Now, let the experts handle it. Finally, land. It's one of the things they're not making any more of. Get into real estate, land, multifamily housing, land, purchasing of big plots of land, break it down. Do a little more on that. I'm not too keen on that because you can really, there's a lot of potentials to lose on that if you're not aware of other things going on, studies that have been done, why is the land up for sale. So just be careful with that one. So that's my synopsis of how you bring all those things together. You pick the best parts of everything because they're all really good plans and they're all really solid. But when you take the best of both world, of all the things that are out there and combine them together, you get a complete, what we call a complete game, like in grappling. And I don't yet, but you get a complete game, and that's what you want for your retirement. And I mean, the reason that it's called, Blue Collar Champions Podcast is I'm celebrating that we can do this, as blue collar people. This is not rocket science that you have to have some magical, starting salary of $250,000 a year and $100K in bonuses annually. No, you can be a working dude. That's my background. That's where I come from. Was wearing tools, going to work every day. And I still enjoy it. There's a lot of days that I wish I could go back to it. And now I go out of my way to help those guys, and see what can I do for them. So that's the whole premise of this, is that it's baby steps over time, and not to steal that from Dave Ramsey, but it is just small steps over time, living on less than you earn, taking care of your debt, getting out, staying out. If you can't go on vacation and pay cash for it, don't go. Get to the point where you can. Next year, when you have the cash, then you spend it. You save for it and you budgeted for that. But you're also making your investments. But don't create debt doing that stuff. And then think about legacy. Think about your kids, their kids. Unfortunately, I don't think enough of our parents thought about that. Not that I'm saying, not at all that I'm saying I'm not grateful or you need a handout or anything like that. But just think, if my kids have money to start viable businesses, then then they don't have to deal with the learning curve, you know. And they're going to start young. I mean, these boys, like I told them I'll buy them their first mower. You know, they're going to start their business, and they're going to grow that, and they're going to be legit, and we're going to invest the money. They're going to have their little custodial IRAs. We're going to do taxes, you know. I'm going to teach them to be financially sound, you know. So by the time they're my age, you know, maybe they're having different conversations, you know, or maybe they have a better plan, you know. And because really the plan isn't mine, it's just the best parts that I have picked up over the years that I think work the best for me. Okay? And then I have the income that I can support doing those different things, but I also live on way less than I earn, and we live way below our means. Not way below, but we live below our means. So it allows me to do those other avenues, you know, have the insurances, have the other retirements. It allows me to fund those things because I'm not living in the palace. So with that said, we're going to go get into pages 54 through 66 today from Think and Grow Rich. Get a little book here. Yeah, I did absolutely no cleaning up in here, nor had any time to. Let's see. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was a failure at everything he tried until he was well past the age of 40. He was a Mr. Nobody from nowhere until a great experience came into his life, arousing the sleeping genius within his heart and brain, and gave the world one of its truly great men. That experience was mixed with the emotions of sorrow and love. It came to him through Anne Rutledge, the only woman he ever truly loved. It is a known fact that the emotion of love is closely akin to the state of mind known as faith, because love comes very near to translating one's thought impulses into their spiritual equivalent. During my long years of research, I discovered that the analysis of the life, work, and achievements of hundreds of people of outstanding accomplishment, that there was the influence of a spouse's love back of nearly every one of them. Okay, this is a key point to touch on. Just, you know, obviously you want somebody who's going to support you. Marry your biggest fan. Marry your biggest fan. That's all I have to say. And I'll leave it at that. You want somebody who is going to be this may come across as sexist coming from a dude, all right? But you guys know me. I'm just a dude. Simple. But you want your cheerleader on your team, you know? Yeah. You want your biggest fan. Marry your biggest fan. Someone who, no matter what crazy, insane, harebrained scheme you come up with, who's going to support you and love you right back and help determine a plan of how they can help, what they can do for you, your family, everything. And like it just said here, and that's why I have it highlighted, I discovered from the analysis of the life, work, and achievements of hundreds of people of outstanding accomplishment that there was the influence of a spouse's love back of nearly every one of them. So think about that. It's huge. So don't put the wrong person on that team. If you wish evidence of the power of faith, study the achievements of men and women who have employed it. At the head of this list comes the Nazarene. Christianity is one of the greatest single forces ever to influence the minds of people. The basis of Christianity is faith, no matter how many people may have perverted or misinterpreted the meaning of this great force, and no matter how many dogmas and creeds have been created in its name, which do not reflect its tenets. The sum and substance of the teachings and the achievements of Christ, which have been interpreted as miracles, were nothing more nor less than faith. If there are any such phenomena as miracles, They are produced only through the state of mind known as faith. Some teachers of religion and many who call themselves Christians neither understand nor practice faith. Faith is the cornerstone of every great religion. The Old Testament psalmist has written, O love the Lord, all ye his saints, for the Lord preserveth the faithful, and plentifully rewardeth the proud doer. O love the Lord, all ye his saints, for the Lord preserveth the faithful, and plentifully rewardeth the proud doer. The Apostle Luke tells us, and Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. And Mark reports Jesus is saying, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. Okay, the gist is how powerful faith is. I'm not going to repeat any of that ever. I don't think I could. The prophet says in the Quran, surely those who believe and do good, their Lord will guide them by their faith. There shall flow from beneath them rivers in gardens of bliss. In the Analects of Confucius, if I said that right, the master says, hold faithfulness and sincerity as first principles, and be moving continually to what is right. This is the way to exalt one's virtue. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find the faith of each is in accordance with one's own nature. A person is known by the faith. One can become whatever one wants to be. If one constantly contemplates on the object of desire with faith. And again, the one who has faith and is sincere and has mastery over the senses gains knowledge. Having gained this, one at once attains the supreme peace, but the ignorant who has no faith and is full of doubt perishes. There is neither this world nor the world beyond, nor happiness for the one who doubts. Let us consider the power of faith, and as it was demonstrated by Mahatma Gandhi of India, who exhorted his followers to be the change you want to see in the world. That is so true. In this man, the world had one of the most astounding examples known to civilization of the possibilities of faith. This is heavy. Gandhi wielded more power than any other person living in his time, and yet he had none of the orthodox tools of power, such as money, battleships, soldiers, and material of warfare. Gandhi had no money. He had no home. He did not own a suit of clothes, but he did have power. How did he come by that power? He created it out of his understanding of the principle of faith, and through his ability to transplant that faith into the minds of 200 million people. Gandhi accomplished through the influence of faith that which the strongest military power on earth could not then and never will accomplish through soldiers and military equipment. He accomplished the astounding feat of influencing 200 million minds to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind. What other force on earth except faith could do as much? There will come a day when employees as well as employers will discover the possibilities of faith. That day is dawning. The whole world has had ample opportunity during the recent worldwide economic downturn to witness the lack of faith. What the lack of faith will do to business. Surely civilization has produced a sufficient number of intelligent human beings to make use of this great lesson, which has been taught the world. During this time of difficulty, the world had evidence in abundance that widespread fear can paralyze the wheels of industry and business. Out of this experience will arise leaders in business and industry who will profit by the example which Gandhi set for the world. And they will apply to business the same tactics which he used in building the greatest following known in the history of the world. These leaders will come from the rank and file of the unknown who now labor in the steel plants, the coal mines, the factories, and in the small towns and cities of America. These leaders will come from the rank and file of the unknown who now labor in steel plants, the coal mines, the factories, and in the small towns and cities of America. That's us. Businesses due for a reform. Make no mistake about this. The methods of the past, based upon economic combinations of force and fear, will be supplanted by the better principles of faith and cooperation. People who labor will receive more than daily wages. They will share more and more in profits from the businesses. The same as those who supply the capital for business. But first they must give more to their employees and stop bickering and bargaining by force at the expense of the public. They must earn the right to profit sharing. Moreover, and this is the most important thing of all, they will be led by leaders who will understand and apply the principles employed by Gandhi. Only in this way can leaders get from their followers the spirit of full cooperation, which constitutes power in its highest and most enduring form. The stupendous age in which we live, and from which we are just emerging, has taken the soul out of people. Its leaders have driven workers as though they were pieces of cold machinery. They were forced to do so by the employees who bargained at the expense of all concerned to get and not to give. The watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment. And when this state of mind shall have been attained, the production will take care of itself more effectively than anything that has ever been accomplished, where workers did not and could not mix faith and individual interest with their labor. Because of the need for faith and cooperation in operating business and industry, it is both interesting and profitable to analyze an event which provides an excellent understanding of the method by which industrialists and business people accumulate great fortunes by giving before they try to get. The event chosen for this illustration goes back to 1900, when the United States Steel Corporation was being formed. As you read the story, keep in mind these fundamental facts, and you will understand how ideas have been converted into huge fortunes. Ideas. First, the huge United States Steel Corporation was born in the mind of Charles M. Schwab in the form of an idea he created through his imagination. Second, he mixed faith with his idea. Third, he formulated a plan for the transformation of his idea, formulated a plan for the transformation of his idea into physical and financial reality. Fourth, he put his plan into action with his famous speech at the University Club. Fifth, he applied and followed through on his plan with persistence and backed it with firm decision until it had been carried out. Sixth, he prepared the way for success by a burning desire for success. If you're one of those people who often wonder how great fortunes are accumulated, this story is the creation of the United States Steel Corporation will be enlightening. If you have any doubt that individuals can think and grow rich, this story should dispel that doubt, because you can plainly see in the story of the U.S. Steel the application of the major portion of the 13 steps to riches described in this book. This astounding description of the power of an idea was dramatically told by John Lowell in the New York World Telegram, with whose courtesy it is here reprinted. So we're not going to read on page 59, and this is the story of Charles M. Schwab in his speech to the highfalutin people who were at that dinner. And we're going to cover this in full on another episode, his speech in particular, and how that created the United States Steel Corporation. I mean, it's just an amazing thing to think about, the room of people he was in. and what he did to sell them. So we'll skip to 66, wrap it up here, and we'll just go to riches begin in the form of thought. So they use the word riches so many times. You can replace that with wealth, additional source of income, a higher income, whatever. I know riches sounds pretty outdated, but I just read it as it's written. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Faith removes limitations. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with life for whatever it is that you ask as your price for having passed this way. Remember also that the man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at the time. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's Man Friday until he gave birth to his famous idea. After that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. And he rose, like all great achievers, on the wings of faith, which can be created by a powerful force known as autosuggestion. So this is going into chapter 3, but I just want to leave you with the definition. Autosuggestion is a term that applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through the 5 senses. Stated in another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between that part of mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. Yes?
Can I come in?
No, Connor. I'm recording, buddy. Give me a little bit. Okay. Love you. So, sorry. Is the agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. So think about a software. Think about a software upgrade, or a software patch. A patch, perhaps. Auto-suggestion. Getting into that subconscious and changing that software. Changing the paradigm. They all correlate. So, anyway, we'll leave it there. I'm going to hit you with some quotes. I got some good ones today. What I did is I actually went and was looking for quotes from the Bible on wealth building. Let's go back to that book, the book. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth. Deuteronomy. Corinthians. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Again, generosity. Proverbs. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Romans. Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. Luke. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. That's Proverbs. Another Proverbs 14:23. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. So that's it. Of course, went long again today. Anyway, this was number 7. Appreciate it. I was excited about this one. Excited to take a dive into the different retirement gurus, masters, and their principles, and then also discuss, my thoughts for bringing that all together. Because I think there's absolutely opportunity. You have to be thoughtful about your approach, when I first started down this path, that I've been on for not 6 months. Now the retirement and the investment, like I kind of had all that figured out beforehand, but the creating some multiple sources of income, creating several businesses that I grow and stick with, starting capturing that and recording that in this format here, in this podcast, and and then really just sharing that and being open and really not giving a fuck what other people think about me. So I'm watching things develop right now and will be generating revenue shortly. But what I mean about being thoughtful is be thoughtful in what you're starting. Like you may need to start up like something, a passive. You may need to start up like a passive source of income to fund another project that you want to do, another business that you want to start, which may require a little more upfront capital. And that's what I mean by being careful. Be thoughtful of what you're focusing your efforts on, and don't just focus them in 50 different directions, because you're going to run out of hours in the day. That's how that works. So with that being said, appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're watching consistently, hit, slam that like button, and spread the word. This is for everybody, man. This is for the guy digging the ditch. This is for the that nurse working that night shift. Let's all the vessels are there. We just have to know what to do with them, and then we have to stop competing with other people or ourselves. Yeah, it's cool to drive nice stuff, but if that nice stuff owns you and you don't own it, I call that an issue. Let's get that resolved. So anyway, that's all I got. Thank you, appreciate it. Keep coming back, and get after life. Train, work out, read, be good to your family, be good to yourself, and get after life. Thanks.